We can certainly all agree that not all Star Wars offerings are equal. For every Empire Strikes Back, we have a Rise of the Skywalker. And although you could say that this series probably does need some time to rest, well, we all know how much Disney spent on this purchase, so they're not gonna let it rest anytime soon. They're gonna milk this thing. But I don't mind milk. Sometimes milk is really good. I mean, it goes great in coffee. It goes really good in cereal. Also, chocolate milk is pretty bomb. But is this latest Star Wars offering too much milk? Let's talk about Star Wars Skeleton Crew. I'm going to be keeping this as a mostly spoiler-free video, but if you want to know absolutely nothing about this series, well then you should watch the first 2 episodes and then come back and watch this video. One thing that will be immediately apparent when you start watching this show is that this is not like any of the Star Wars offerings that we have seen before, and it is all the better for it. Skeleton Crew tells the story of 4 kids living on a mysterious planet called Aten. It has a lot of similarities to Earth. It's got suburbs, and it's got frickin' sidewalks, man. Frickin' sidewalks. Our main character is a boy named Wim, played by Ravi Cabot-Conyers. He comes off as you'd expect most kids his age to come off as. He's curious, prone to misbehaving, and brave beyond his wisdom. I don't know if you guys know what that means. That's my fancy way of saying he has more guts than he has brains. And it's he who first discovers something strange in the woods and ends up taking a curiosity. This is a boy we're talking about after all. Us men and boys, we are just naturally curious people, and we do tend to leap before we look. His best friend in this series is an elephant-looking boy named Neil. These two have a friendship that is not unlike Peter and Ned from the recent Spider-Man trilogy, which makes perfect sense because John Watts, the man who directed that previous Spider-Man trilogy with Tom Holland, he is a writer and a director on this series, and his charm really comes through. And just like his Spider-Man trilogy, this series is extremely easy to watch. It's like dessert for the eyes. And I think what really makes the show stand out so much, apart from the fact that it is starring kids, is that it's going for that 80s vibe. It's got bits of E.T., Stand By Me, Goonies, Stranger Things. You get the drift. Oh, and Super 8 as well. Let's not forget that one from J.J. Abrams. I think using that style of storytelling was a brilliant move because those movies, even though they starred kids, were still appealing to adults. And as a matter of fact, those movies, the kids that were watching those movies back in the day, well, they're us now. They're the adults. So they are talking to those inner kids that us adults have hiding inside. The 4 lead kids have so far been doing a fantastic job with their acting. They aren't annoying as of yet. But I don't really expect that to change because of these excellent casting choices. Kiera Armstrong as Fern will certainly resonate as one of the stronger characters. She's older than the other 4 and has more attitude, but she also has a slight edge of intelligence that being older and having more experience in life gives you. Not to mention, she has a strong-willed personality that I think makes her come off as a natural leader. And so far, we've only seen a brief glimpse of Jude Law's character, but I have a feeling that these 2 characters are gonna have some very entertaining interaction. I'm calling it right now, it's gonna be a battle of the wills between Fern and Jude Law's character. I think what makes this show start off so strong is because they are tapping into a new style of storytelling that is fresh to the Star Wars series and makes it feel far less repetitive than some of the stuff that they've been giving us lately. The Acolyte was trying hard to be great, but was ultimately held back by characters that people couldn't get into, story choices that seemed silly, and just leaning too much on what had made Star Wars successful in the past, rather than trying to do something new and fresh. This series has been around for over 30 years. People don't need to see more of the same. A refreshed approach is what is needed. Skeleton Crew is going for that fresh feeling, and it's paying off in a big way. I don't think it feels kiddie. Starring kids and being kiddie are 2 very different things, and I think if you are able to separate those 2 and realize that having kids doesn't make it a kids show, then you are going to enjoy this series. I have a feeling we are going to be in for some fun dynamics as this story continues to play out, and I'm really looking forward to hearing more about this planet that the kids came from, because as of the second episode, it's revealed to us that people don't really believe that Atkins or Addens is a real place. And boy, is that interesting. It makes me feel like it's a story of like El Dorado or Atlantis. That is cool. I'm feeling more than optimistic about this series, and I think it proves that John Watts knows how to give a shot of adrenaline to a stagnant series. He understands the mind of youth and what makes being a kid so fun. It's the curiosity, the discovery, the leaping first before you look for danger. We all did it, don't lie. You did some stupid shit when you were a kid, just like I did. Which is why these kids are easy to connect with, because we can relate to doing something like this. If I found a mysterious door out in the woods, I know for sure I would open it. My early thoughts on this series, because I can't give you a final score, we've only had 2 episodes, but I am thinking that this series is well worth checking out. It's a breath of fresh air for the Star Wars series. It is so needed, and I love the way it is leaning into that vintage 80s nostalgia that we just grew up watching, and I think it meshes well with Star Wars. And it is great that we finally have something that is washing the taste of the Acolyte out of our mouths. I'm sorry to everybody on that show, and I'm sorry to everybody that liked that show, but it just didn't cut it. But check out this series. I bet you will like it. Later.